Welcome, in front of me is an LG Velvet, and today I will go over unboxing along with a brief overview of the device. So let's pop the box open and see what we get inside. So obviously there's the phone, which comes as no surprise. Now the device is already set up, so I'm just gonna set it onto the side for now, and we can check out what else is in here. So we got just some paperwork along with the SIM eject tool, so no one really cares about that. Then we got a charging cable, so type C to type A, nothing really special here. And then we get a complete and utter garbage of a charger. This is a 25 watt charger that is released for a device that has been released in 2020. Now this is probably the crappiest part of this entire phone, I would say. So let's set it up to the side. There's nothing else in the box. I move to the phone itself. So as you can see, it's already set up, like I said. And the device has a fairly huge display. Now it is more of like long design rather than wide. And overall it's a 6.8 inch display, almost reaching that tablet territory. With a screen to battery ratio of 88.6%. Now I was expecting it to be somewhere around like 90, but because the big display doesn't really, it feels a little bit as though the bezels are smaller than they actually are. But still, it's a really nice display, honestly. And now it's a P OLED, not really sure what the P is for. And it's a resolution of 1080p by 2460, so just a typical, I would say, flagship kind of display in the 2020 year. At least every device that I have seen or tested in recent timing was coming with a 1080p display. Just different variants of like OLED or sometimes an IPS, whatever. It didn't really matter here. This is a fairly nice display, I have to say. And when it comes down to screen to our pixels per inch, it's not necessarily the highest. It's 395. That's because this is a fairly huge display comparing to like any kind of other device. I think this is the biggest display I have seen so far this year and probably for a long time now. So yeah, as you can see, if I take it off, it does look really nice. Although it's barely visible in the entire camera view. So let me just move it like this. So you can see it's fairly nice, although I'm not a greatest fan of that camera right here. It is like smack in the middle of it and just kind of destroys the super clean design of the front of the device, I have to say. I would prefer to have it either a hole punch camera at the very least, or something that has like a retractable camera from like the body when we seen in OnePlus, for instance. But apart from that, we can move to the camera setup. So as you can see, we have triple camera setup right here, and the main one is a 48 megapixel wide, then we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide and 5 megapixel depth. Now the only camera that protrudes out of the phone is the 48 megapixel, as you can see, and it is fairly minimal, as you can see right here. Nothing severe as in some other devices that I've seen in recent timing, specifically something like Huawei. So it's fairly nice and clean back of the phone. So the two cameras below are basically part of the glass back, so that is really nice. And then, like I said, at the front we have also a camera, and this is just a 16 megapixel camera. And when it comes down to shooting with it at the back, it shoots at 4K 30 or just a simple 1080p at 60 and 30 frames. So nothing really mind-blowing here. But when it comes down to the front facing, it does a 1080p 30, so just kind of mediocre. And also, while we're at the topic of cameras, let's see how it actually comes out to look like. So there's the camera. It gives us some kind of guide. don't care about geolocation. So let's, number one, start off with the prop that I usually use and see how it deals with it. Now there is a macro lens, so let's see if it automatically turns on. Actually no, there isn't macro lens, my bad. So I'm zooming in or almost slamming those lenses to the object while there is no macro. So let's just take like one more. See how that comes up to look like after I crank up the brightness. So here is one, and I can already see it kind of struggled with the red area right here. It looks really blurry, especially like in the back area. This kind of becomes a blurry mess of nothing. And then also the shadows are just a little bit too dark. It doesn't deal too well with something like HDR, it looks like. Although keep in mind that this is a kind of a weird lighting room right here. I have a literal spotlight right above, as you can see in the reflection right now, and then that's about it, and a window a couple of meters from me. So the window's giving a little light right here, so it's primarily this light above. Now let's also look at the previous one. Now you can see that again, I think it even focused on the monitor, considering I can see almost pixels on it. Let's try it again maybe. Okay, so let's see if that came out any better. I wouldn't say it came out any better. It still looks a little bit blurry. There is no actual like definition to it. I did do the shadow a little bit better, as you can see. You can actually see the below of the figure, but still it's mediocre photo at best, I would say. Now also let's take a look at the selfie, which I'll be the subject of it, and see if that comes out to be any better. Now I'm gonna clean out the lens so we can get the best result, so it's nice and clean. And let's flip her over, and actually it doesn't look that bad. So it does that weird trippy thing when it just flips it and it confuses the heck out of me. But as you can see, there is a fairly decent photo on the front. It's a little bit, I would say, too light of a color. It's lacking a little bit of saturation in it, I would say. I don't think I'm as pale as that, and the shirt is most certainly a little bit more bluish, while the area behind me is a little bit too dark in lighting condition. I mean, the whatever that heater or whatever you want to call it would be a little bit brighter, or is a little bit brighter in reality. So I mean, it looks fairly okay, I have to say. So okay, so moving on from the cameras onward, let's go to the specifications of the device. So there is two variants of it. You have the 6GB and 8GB RAM versions. Personally, I would advise you to probably go for the higher one if you're planning to keep this device for something like 2 years. It will just help you in the long run. But when it comes down to storage, it only comes with a single variant of 128GB with a measly UFS 2.1, so you're not going to be getting those blazing fast transfer speeds as some other devices that would approach the same price range. So yeah, apart from that, it does have an expandable storage, so you could expand it via an SD card if you wanted to, and it takes a normal SD card. There is no weird SD that they have invented for it, so you can just slap any kind of card that you have lying around. Now the device also comes with a Snapdragon 675G, so it's in this case it's not really competing against flagships. It's more of a mid-range device, which I would say for a mid-range device it does come with a fairly hefty cost. It comes around $600, so it is approaching like the really high mid-range, I would say. Now, just as a little comparison though. I was using a Realme X50, and honestly this feels more premium. It feels in hand like an actual flagship. It's just basically lacking the flagship specifications, but in terms of like usage, it sometimes might be a little bit slowish, I would say, comparing to actual flagships. It looks really nice, feels in hand really nice. The proportions of it might be a little bit odd. It resembles more of a remote control rather than a phone. As a comparison, I have my Mate 20 Pro, which when I was buying it I was considering it to be a fairly hefty device, and as you can see it kind of pales in comparison to this one. So just so you can see, this is standing on along with the phone right now, and it is just shorter in general, and in terms of width it's not as wide either as this device. So this is a fairly generous phone, let's call it that, in size. And apart from just the typical specs, it does come with a wireless charging, and it's only a 9-watt charging, although well, it's still better than probably other thing, like for instance my device. So still 9 watts is fairly nice. But if you're planning to charge the device quickly, probably the cable will be your best option, but by no means is this going to be charging quick. The 25 watt charger that they provide is just crap. There is no other way of putting it. And even if you have a better charger lying around, you're not going to utilize it. The device only charges at 25 watts. So even if I would be trying to use my 40 watt charger for Huawei, which probably in the same time as I charged about 6% on this device, my phone would have probably been mostly charged. So yeah, this is kind of super slow and feels like you're using an outdated device in terms of just like charging speed. But then, like I said, it's a mid-range device, comes at $600, looks really nice. It also comes with a fairly minimal, I would say, skin, although it does still have that unfortunate LG skinning on it, which I'm personally not a fan of. It just kind of looks meh, nothing really special here. As you can see, the settings looks okay, and majority of the device honestly isn't necessarily that bad, but the notifications are just, I feel like I'm stepping back in time here, and they don't look too good. So yeah, and now to finish up the overview of this device, personally I think it's a fairly decent device, although I feel like it might be a little bit overpriced honestly. It tries to get people that probably would want to get a flagship, so the people that might be debating to get a flagship, I think it caters to the people that are like, yeah, the flagships might be a little bit too expensive, so I'm just gonna go for something a little cheaper. So it looks like a really nice and really amazing device, at least in terms of like how appearance wise how it looks like. It feels like a flagship in hand, but then it's lacking the actual performance. And for some people that might be just what they were looking for, a device that looks like a flagship, has some of the key parts, like for instance wireless charging and a nice curved display. The edges are curved on it. A nice curved display with a fairly generous screen to body ratio. That doesn't actually cost $1,000, so this might be the device for them. Personally, I wouldn't be getting this device. I feel like my money might be spent better elsewhere. So this is just well-looking device. I really like how it looks like and how it feels in hand, but like I said, I would not get it for myself. So the question is more if the device is what you were looking for, a semi-flagship looking device, but just at a cheaper price. But this would conclude my overview of the device, and if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.